is April. Welcome to Whips and Weaving Wednesdays. Here on my channel at Crafting in the Night, I'd like to share with you tips, tricks, and tutorials all about crochet. For today's video, I actually printed out a list of all of my current whips. And can you believe the number totaled 28? In fact, as I was creating the list, I kept finding more and more and just projects that I had forgotten about. So a lot of these I do work on actively. I work on average 10 to 12 projects a week during the week, just depending on what suits my fancy. But today I want to kind of give you an overview of some of the projects. Hopefully they inspire you, as well as I can share my progress as I continue on and get them closer to becoming finished objects. So I'm not going to show you all of them, but I will show you a large majority of them. Let's get started. So this is all but 2 of my whips. So some blankets, some stuff that's getting started, but let's get through it. So the first one I have is, it's not too far from being done actually. So it's going to be, I call this my granny illusion. So there's 4 panels over here, and then this is going to be 4 panels, and then there will be another 8 panels. So it's going to be 16 panels altogether. And it's made with, I love this yarn, sparkle yarn. So I'm really excited to finish this one. I'm not quite sure what kind of a border I'm going to put on it yet, but I still have a little bit. The way that it's constructed, it's kind of like, I think they call this a mitered granny. And then now that I've gotten into it, it's join as you go. So as I'm making the grannies, I'm joining them in. That's really fun, and I will eventually have a tutorial and a pattern available for this whip. So let's see, the next one is, if you've seen my double triple ripple blanket pattern, if not, check it out, it's on my channel. But this is another version of that blanket. I really love the texture on that pattern. So this is the same exact pattern, but in camo. And it's, I know it's not going to come out on video, but it kind of gives the blanket that mesh kind of texture like you see on like camouflaged netting. So this is really fun to work up. It's just a nice easy pattern to sit and do while I'm watching TV. And this will be a gift, so but not until Christmas-ish time. So that's been a fun one to work on. Another pattern that I have that I'm going to be writing a pattern for, again, it's just a simple granny, but I call this my neon grannies. Or neon abstract grannies is kind of what I'm calling it. So this is another just fun kind of take on the granny square. Really easy to do, really easy to work up. I've actually got all of the solid squares done now and the ends weaved in for the center squares. So now I've got to do the borders, and then I'm joining as you go for the last round. So on like the orange one, the last round is black. That's join as you go. And then for like this blue one, the last round is blue. So I'm sorry, the last round is white. So that's 2 rows. So yeah, I'm working on that one. And this is going to be like a 70 inches long. So I think 8 or 10 more rows. I've only got 2 rows done, and you can see it's kind of, it's a nice long one, or a nice wide one. This is the width. And then I've got to work up the length. Okay, let's see. This blanket I'm calling Purple Fields. This is just a blanket stitch, and I showed this in my Crochet After Dark podcast. You can go to my channel and see that in the playlist, but it's just this variegated yarn with cream and then light purple, cream, dark purple. And this is really fun to work up. The yarn is so soft and squishy. This is Bernat Softy Baby in Jacquards, and then Softy Baby in the purples as well. So that one's fun to work on. That one's nice when you want like a delicate hook. It's got a size H hook, and so it's smaller than what I normally use, but it's really good to work with. This is my Speedy Granny Ruth, and this one's getting really close to being done. This is a pattern by Krista at The Secret Yarnery, and I'll probably have this done within the next week or 2. I've been working on this twice a week for about 2 hours a night, and it works up really quickly. And it's a nice, easy, beginner-friendly pattern, but it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful throw blanket. And the best part of it that I'm really loving is we're changing colors every row, but there are these tassels, and this is going to have a tasseled edge, so we won't have to weave in any of these ends. So that's awesome. let's see what we have here. This is a octagon flower blanket. I'm using Lion Brand mandala yarn for this, and then I'm making 1 and 2 color flowers, so I don't know if you can see that. They're really cute, and they're hexagons. This is not my pattern, and I'm doing the white part in Karen Party, and eventually they'll all join together really nicely. But what I decided to do for this project was I just decaked some Lion Brand, so I've made all these little balls. I just, you know, unwound each color and the yarn winder, and then I just kind of pick from the pile as I go. And that kind of puts me out of my comfort zone a little bit. I like having a defined pattern, so having like to reach into a blind bag to grab 2 colors to work a flower kind of, it's a challenge for me, but this is a fun, easy one to work on. So this next pattern is similar to that flower blanket, except this one I am using a mandala cake, but I'm working the colors in order. So this is another pattern that is not my pattern. This is actually one from Etsy, and it's called Princess Polka Dots. It's another octagon pattern, and you can see I've kind of started to join it already. And I'm using a nice flat braid join. I don't know if that'll show up or not, but it's really cool. So it's got these dots, and again, because I'm kind of ordering them in the way that the cake comes out, I've got them chained together with these pins, the stitch markers, so that I know where to join them. But that's just one. This one I actually haven't worked on in a while. I like to take that one when I travel because the motifs are so little. I can work on them during the day, and then like if I'm in my hotel room, then I can work on joining them. And it's such a nice transportable project too. It all fits in one bag, at least for now. Let's see. Another one is a Hexagon. So this one, I had just a couple skeins of this neon stripes by Red Heart, and I just wanted to use that up, and I thought, let me try this Hexagon. This is my first time making one, and the concept is pretty simple, but I'm not really happy. I don't think I like the way that you can kind of see it doesn't really cover my chest area. So I'm going to have to add some more rows of double crochet, but then the neck is perfect. So I'm going to have to like slip stitch or single crochet as I get closer to the neckline. But yeah, it's almost done. Just got to lengthen the sleeves, maybe lengthen the bottom a little bit, and then fix the front, and it'll be good to go. And I love the colors. It's kind of funky, you know. But that's my Hexagon, so that's not too far from being done. Okay, this one is, I believe, a Yarnspirations pattern, and I don't know what the pattern's called. It may be called Country Fields. That's what I've been calling the blanket, is Country Fields. So that may be right. And this is another one where it's actually not too, it doesn't have too far to go. I have this, these colors aren't really my colors, but they match a fabric that I have that I was going to make a pillowcase. So for like a little boy to match, have the matching crochet blanket, and then a pillowcase that matches it. So the pillowcase has like tractors and stuff on it. So that's why all the kind of bright, fun colors. And this one is really simple and easy, and I just got to sit down with it again. So, oh, this one you would have seen already in my Crochet After Dark podcast episode number 1. I showed you how at that time I only had 2/3 of the ends done on it, and so now I have almost all the ends. So all the ends for this blanket are on one side, and I just have this little section left here. And what I actually did after I filmed that podcast was I went in, and you can kind of see here, I put the stitch marker every 20 ends. So I counted 2, 4, 6, and then went up to 20, and every 20 ends I put a stitch marker. So I don't work on weaving these ends every day, but it kind of gave me inspiration to at least do a chunk when I do sit down and weave the ends. So this one's actually getting pretty close to done, so I've got it sitting out here on my couch now because I want to get it finished. Once these ends are weaved in, then I have to decide on a border. And I think my daughter said she wanted me to put just a mesh, an open mesh with a picot on it. I don't know, I may do something else just because I think it's kind of, that's kind of a dainty border for such a big blanket, but we'll see. I don't want to do shells though because the whole blanket is shells. So if you have any ideas or recommendations for what border you would put on this blanket, drop them in the comments, and I'll definitely check them out and see, because I'm not decided what kind of border I want to put on that yet. So the other one is that's really close to being done is this. I'm calling it Rainbow Waves, and I'll have a pattern for this one as well. It's just a simple wave blanket, wave ripple, but the ends here are every row. So I changed color every row, and it's not so bad, but they're on both sides. And I already know what border I want to put on this one. So once I have all the ends weaved in, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to square this off and then put my favorite ruffle border on it. And then once that's all done, I'll have a pattern and tutorial available for both the blanket as well as the ruffle border. But that's probably going to be a couple weeks, just because I've got to get through this one after I finish the Juicy Fruits. So once I finish Juicy Fruits, then I'll be able to set aside. I'll probably mark this one out the same way and put the stitch markers for the ends, and then work on it, keep it on the couch back here, and work on it little by little till all the ends are weaved in. So this next blanket is one I'm actually thinking about frogging, and I'm not sure if I want to frog it or put it in kind of like a UFO pile. So I do have one other blanket, one other project started that I think I want a UFO instead of frog. But this is, I started this to be kind of like a Dr. Seuss themed Alpine stitch blanket. So it's just a standard Alpine stitch, and it's kind of in Dr. Seuss colors. And it's really easy to work on. I just kind of lost my motivation for it. So I don't know if I want to keep this as an active whip and just go ahead and finish it, or put it in a UFO project. I know I don't really want to frog it. I could frog it, but I do love the texture, so we'll see. But that's, you know, right now it's technically a whip. Let's see here. This guy is just a basic corner to corner. I love having at least one corner to corner going at any one time because it's just such an easy project to take on a road trip or something. And it's working, I'm doing a Karen cotton cake in calico flowers. So nice pretty Karen cotton cake. And so this is one cake. This was one entire cake, and now I'm going to start the second. I've got to double check if I have a third cake of this color or if I need to just start decreasing now. If I start decreasing, it's going to be kind of a small baby blanket size, but we'll see. But again, I love doing a corner to corner just to have one going at all times because they're so easy to work up. And again, very portable. That's a great little travel project. Oh, this one is what am I calling this one? A green blue vines. And that's all I have started. It's corner to corner. It's going to be panels, so you kind of have to use your imagination. This is just a design I'm working on, and it's really, the design, at least what I'm working from, is really cool. So I just need to sit down and have time to work on this. But this is with Karen Simply Soft, so it's super soft and just a standard corner to corner. But that's all I have done on this whip. So this tub is what I'm calling my modern granny, or my take on a modern granny. It's really just granny squares. I've done the square itself with only one chain at the corners and no chains in between. So there's only one chain up here instead of two, and then there's no chains in between. And I have various colors going. So right now, you know, and I'm going to arrange them all. This is Lion Brand Heartland, and that's what I'm making all of the squares out of. So to kind of keep track of where I am with this project, because I know exactly how many squares I need, this is going to be a pattern that I am working on, and I am going to publish it on the website. But what I did was I created a progress tracker. So this is really cool, and when I do have it available on the website, I'll have the same thing. But basically, I have my colors listed, and then I don't know if you guys can see, but if I have created the granny, I put a dot. Once I've weaved in the ends, I put 1 slash, and then once I've joined it, I put the other slash to make an X. So that kind of helps me keep going, and then I'll have a placement chart as well. So that'll be a fun, easy pattern. Again, it's just a granny square, but it'll be a nice pattern once I get it written up, get it finished, get it filmed, and then get it on the website. If you're liking this video and you haven't done so already, please subscribe, hit the notification icon, and leave a comment below. All of these things really do help YouTube show this video not only to you again, but also to other crocheters on the web who may be looking for fun content like this. All right, let's this one, I don't want to show you the whole thing because it's almost done, so I'll let it be a surprise for when the tutorial comes out. But this is a corner to corner granny in panels, and all I have left to do is, so what happened with this one is I started, I made a bunch of panels, and then I stopped working on it for a couple months, and then I made some more panels. So I have like some that are this big and some that are this big, and it's just, I think, how my gauge or tension changed over time. And then, so now I've got to block it, and it's cotton, so I've got to block it to make them all the same length before I join them. And I'm gonna just join them with the standard like join as you go kind of granny stitch in a neutral color. But that's almost done. I just have one panel left. I saved the last panel so that I can make the tutorial, and again, I hope to have that out in the next couple weeks. Man, this is fun. I haven't even kept track of how many I've shown you. I know which ones I'm not showing, so we'll kind of get through them. But this is what I'm calling my Patriotic granny ripple, and it's in, again, the very beginning stages, but this is just again, kind of a basic granny. I like it to keep it nice and simple, so a lot of my projects I want to be ones that even beginners can do. But what I've done is created this half granny block, so it's going to go like this. This is the bottom, and then joined in a granny square, and now I'm going to start adding granny ripples to the top. But again, this is going to be a pattern eventually once I get through it. It's really a nice, easy pattern to work up, but joining all of the motifs, well, joining the grannies kind of was fun to figure out, but it'll work up nicely. If I didn't have so many whips, these would get finished quicker, right? But I have a lot of whips. So let's talk about temperature blankets. We all have them, right? I started one last year and I didn't finish it, but I didn't start just one. I started many. I love the whole idea. I even made a nice, on my other website, farmhouseguide.com, I made a nice temperature blanket planner and kind of really went in depth. But so what I did was, what I decided I'm going to do is, oops, that's not it, is as I have time to work on the temperature blanket, what I really want to do is, I'm not so much into the memory of it. I have all of the temperatures now for 2022. And so what I want to do is create the same color scheme, because I do love my color scheme, in a variety of different temperature blanket patterns, so that somebody looking to create their first temperature blanket can kind of look at different ideas that are the exact same colors, not different years, so different colors, but the exact same colors and how they work up. So this Nightmare of Ends, can you see that? is a corner to corner temperature blanket. And you can see it, I kind of started right here, when, must have been when we were getting into the summer months. I haven't worked on these at all this year. This is not one I'm going to continue, I don't think. I'll have to see if it's even accurate, but I was playing with a moss stitch for the corner to corner. I also have one where I was using a vintage pattern. I'm making these little hearts that would kind of interlock and join together. And then again, another vintage pattern using this kind of fan where each color was a day. And the way that I counted it out, again, when I was writing my article, the way that I counted it out, it was absolutely going to work for a temperature blanket. And then let's see. Oh, and this is actually my favorite and the one I do want to finish. But this is the Battenberg blanket. And I'm not sure which side's the right side. I think this is the right side. But this is going to be, I think is it Cherry Heart? I'll put a link in the description, but this is just a Battenberg blanket. But what I was going to do is have it alternate, because it's so many little squares, have it alternate between the temperature and a white square and the temperature and a white square. Yeah, but that's all using Caron Simply Soft, and didn't get too far on any of them. And my friend was doing the granny square, and hers is almost done. I think she finished all of her squares, and maybe just needs to do her final border. So this next project is one that's my own pattern, and I'm really struggling with how I want to do the middle of it. So I'm not going to show you the middle because that's nowhere close to being done, but I'll show you what I'm kind of working on. I'm calling this Sunshine and Rainbows. This is using Line Brand yarn and Caron Party. So that sparkly, this is sparkly white. I love the sparkles. But basically I'm doing a rainbow square and then a sunshine square and then rainbow, sunshine, and that. But I want to do kind of a really nice middle, almost like mandala of a sun. And so I've got it worked up a little bit here, but I haven't 100% decided. And now I've got to go back and find my notes, because as I wrote, or as I created this pattern, I didn't use a pattern for this sun. I just kind of created it working on it, and I have that written down, but I don't have what I've done for this big one, which kind of follows the same as the little one, but it's a little different. So this is another one I haven't worked on in quite a while. I haven't worked on it at all this year, and it's just really because I got stuck with how to work that middle panel. And so I do want to work on it, and I do want to keep it in my whips list, and I do keep it here by my crochet station. I'm just not, I have to be in that mood to like be able to sit down and just take 2 or 3 hours and say, okay, let's write out the notes, let's figure it out, let's, you know, make up 5 or 6 middle samples to figure out what I'm going to be happy with. I think that's it. I have 2 other blankets that I can't show you, they're gifts, but yeah. So when I went through, I had 28 after everything was said and done. I finished 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking at them right now because I have them for the next podcast, but so I finished 4 this week, which was one that just needed ends weaved in, a purse that I was working on that just needed the strap, and then 2 scarves, Drunken Granny scarf and a corner to corner scarf that I had started back in Christmas time and just not finished. And so those were really quick to finish. I do have a hat I'm working on for my daughter, which is my car project, so it's in the car. But all that's left on that is to add the ribbed, what do you call that? The ribbed brim, I guess, you know, on the beanies where you flip it up. If you know the word for it, leave it in the comments. I think it's the brim. And then funny enough, there's one project which I know I started And I know that I was using mandala cakes in this beautiful like blue. I think that the cake was even called Orion, and that's what I call the blanket, my Orion blanket. It's just a hexagon, kind of using the same exact idea of this one, where you reach in and grab whatever color and then do, you know, alternating rows of the different colors for the hexagon. And I can't find it. So I'm really bummed about that. And I know I took it on a cruise once, and I'm wondering if I accidentally left it behind. So I need to go through my luggage, make sure it's not in my luggage, that kind of thing. But that's my whips. And 28 minus 4 done, or sorry, 28 minus 4 done is 24. I have 2, I didn't show you the other one, but I have 2 that I'm going to leave as UFOs, the Dr. Seuss blanket, and then there's another one. I thought I had brought it out, but I guess I didn't. There's another, oh, here it is. This I'm going to leave as a UFO for now too. This is a pattern called the Versatile Granny. And again, I'm just not feeling it. But I don't want to frog, you can't really frog these. So I can either leave this as a UFO and finish the blanket as it was intended, since it does have a pattern that goes with it, or if I ever do like a granny mashup, I've got several of these squares in different colors and various stages of being done. I could always just pop these into another granny blanket or granny scrap blanket. So there's 24 minus 2 UFOs minus 1 lost. That means I am down to 21 whips. So again, my goal is to get down to 20 whips. So once I finish this Juicy Fruits blanket, I'll be down to 20 whips, and then try to hold that 20 whips number over the course of the year. Again, I'm not going to be too hard on myself, but try to hold that 20 whips, maybe even get it down a little bit, but I really do like the variety. And then once I get under 20, so once I get down to 19 whips, add a new whip. So that'll kind of be my reward for finishing a project, is that I can start a new project, because starting them is way more fun than like weaving in the last 8 ends and trying to figure out a border. So what was your favorite whip? Are there any that inspired you today? If so, drop a comment. I do try to reply to all of the comments. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button, click the bell to get notifications, and don't forget to drop this video a like. I'm going to be putting my yarn organization video up in the next couple of days. I actually filmed it last Monday, and then got most of the pile organized, and then kind of didn't put away the last like 10 skeins of yarn. So I did that today, filmed it, make sure to update it, but I still got to edit that one and edit this one. So keep an eye out for that. And if you're a subscriber, of course, you'll get notified when I do post that yarn organization video, but I'll show you my whole stash. I dump it all out in my living room. It was insane. Until next time, keep calm and crochet on.